You got to go back to being unapologetically African. If you cannot be unapologetically African, you won't be able to become anything else. Now, when we say unapologetically African, we're not saying you should hate anybody. That's not our cultural legacy. I am not going to teach our children to hate whites and Asians. I'm not going to do that. Because hatred is negative emotion that kills more than it cures. So I'm not interested in your son hating white people and calling them by derogatory names. But what I am interested is in him knowing his enemy and knowing his enemy well. I want to make sure he understands that his agenda is not synonymous with the agendas of European peoples. I want him to understand that ever since Africans had been dealing with people from Europe, it has brought us nothing positive. Your daughters need to know that. And for my sisters, I want my mothers to know that when your daughters come to my school, the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RBG Leadership Academy for young African women, your daughter cannot have a weave. Your daughter cannot have a wig. Your daughter cannot have a perm, a straightening comb, hair color, tracks, extensions, whatever the hell y'all into. She cannot have it. Now some of you are going to ask, what does natural hair got to do with you teaching my daughter math and science? My answer is everything. Before I can teach her to read or to count, I got to teach her to love who she is. Because if the African child doesn't love themselves, before I give them any science, they will take the science they learn and use it to the benefit of Europeans and the detriment of black people. Barack Obama is an intelligent man, but he was taught political science before he was taught loyalty to his race. Oprah Winfrey is brilliant. Condoleezza Rice is brilliant. Colin Powell is brilliant. But because they were taught science before they was taught loyalty to black people, everything they became was used against their people more than it was used in their favor. So before I let your child graduate from my school and take what they learned in my school and use it for the benefit of the European, I'm going to make sure they understand, first of all, everything you learn here is to only be used for the benefit of your own people. My school will be an unapologetically African institution. We're going to teach the black boys to be loyal to black women, whether you like it or not. I don't dislike white women. And I wouldn't disrespect one of them no more than I would want them disrespecting my daughters. But I'm against interracial marriage because I understand that black women, more than any other woman, have the most difficult time of securing wedlock with a man. Because of the war on black men, it ain't enough of us for black women. So if I already know that only 1 out of every 4 black women are getting married, if I already know that the homosexual war and the mass incarceration war and the miseducation war is dropping the numbers of black men daily, how can I condone any brother finding anybody else's daughter to make his wife other than somebody who looks like him? I didn't say, black man, that black women ain't got some issues. She might curse you out in public. I know that. She might max out your credit cards. I know that. She might tell all your business. I know that. But I also know she understands your struggle better than any other woman could ever understand it. And I also know that for 300 years, when you was down and out, she was the only one who was by your side and lifted you up and did it for free. So if she was good enough in 1600, and if she was good enough in 1700, and if she was good enough in 1800, and if she was good enough in 1900, how in the hell can she not be good enough in the 21st century? She is all we got, and we are she got. And the one thing we cannot allow the American social order to do with its billion-dollar propaganda machine called CNN, ABC, NBC, and Fox is we cannot allow them to turn us against each other. They're teaching black men that your problem is black women, that they don't know their place anymore, that they got more education and income than you do. And because of that, they're looking down on you. So what you need to do is fight against your woman and put her back in her place. They're telling a black woman that your problem is the black man, not white supremacy. He's not in jail because of nothing we've done. He's in jail because he lacks discipline. He's not in jail because of nothing we've done. He's in jail because he's too lazy to go and find jobs. So now you got black women looking like the men is their problem, and black men looking at the women like we're their problem. And so what you have is a situation of divide and conquer, separate and rule. The black woman is not my problem. If my wife makes more money than I, then so be it. If she has more education than I, then so be it. You do not let anybody circumscribe your definition of manhood to the labels that come from white people's minds. We got to have our own definitions for what we are and what we are going to become. And we as black men have to do a better job of teaching young black men how proud we are to be black. Because when you look around now, I don't know if you notice, but statistically, most of the new black marriages in America are either biracial or of the same gender. The black family is a dying breed. It is hard now to find a young black woman married to a young black man. We're running to everybody else. And what makes it so trifling for a man to go outside of his race, a black man, is that marriage is a financial institution. So let's take Michael Jordan with his 36-year-old wife. Michael Jordan is nearly 60 years old, married to a white girl almost half his age. Now we know that women live longer than men. So when Michael Jordan dies, that white woman is going to inherit hundreds of millions of dollars that she did not help to build. And she is not going to come to Seattle and give us money for a school. She is not going to go to New York and give us money for an institution. She's going to take that black money and put it in a white bank and give it to her white descendants. The reason why interracial marriage is so terrible because you're taking what little we got and giving it to people who already got too much. And we got to recognize that. But black woman, before you criticize the black man for dating and marrying white women, you have to first ask yourself honestly, did you teach your son at home to value white women above and beyond black women by the example you gave them, by the way you wear your hair and your eyes and your body? Did you try to become a white woman during his childhood? And so many black women are quick to talk about brothers who date white, but if I'm your son and I'm growing up, mama, and every day I see you doing your best to look like a white woman, every day I see you doing your best to straighten your hair and blonde it and dye it and do this and do that and talk white and live white and be white, are you not teaching me that white women are better than you? If you're spending the greater portion of your disposable income trying to look like them, why should I mess around with a bootleg copy? Why not get the real thing? So sisters got to be careful of the example you give to your own sons in your own house. I had a friend of mine call me a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Umar, it's prom season, and my son wants to take a white girl to the prom, even though we got all these beautiful black girls in our neighborhood. What's wrong with him? First question I asked is, how do you wear your hair? And what color is your contacts? Do y'all follow what I'm saying? The mother taught her son to love white women without even realizing it through her own example. Our babies, when they're born, most of us baptize them into white supremacy the first day from the hospital. I go into your children's room, every cartoon character is white. You got Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, all up in the walls. All the cartoons you're putting on for your infant child, white people. Even the damn room is white, everything. And then when they go to kindergarten, we blame the Seattle public schools for teaching them to hate themselves. Sorry, you did that before school even started. So we got to look at the role we play in this. We got to look at the role we play in this. When you go home, you got to take anything down in your house that isn't affirmatively African. And then some black parents said, well, Dr. Umar, shouldn't I have some white dolls for my child because I don't want her to think that white people don't exist? I said, I beg your pardon? If a black child is growing up in the United States of America, how in the hell are they not going to know that white people exist? They're going to get all the white curriculum they can stand when they walk outside that door. And because of that, you can't afford to waste not even one doll. Not even one doll that doesn't look like her. There was a sister who replicated the Dow study a couple years ago and found the same things that Kenneth Clark found in the Brown versus Board of Education decision in '54. That black kids in America today still overwhelmingly identify with white dowels above and beyond their own, because look at what we give them. Even if you look at our black magazines like Ebony and Jet and Essence, look at the sisters in those magazines. Yes, once in a while she's chocolate with a nappy head, but most of the time she fits the European phenotype. They're still giving us a steady diet of light skin supremacy. And when I talk about light skin supremacy, I'm not talking about light skinned people. You could be blue, black, purple and be a light skin supremacist. A light skin supremacist is any black person who thinks lighter is better. Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice, is darker than anybody in this room, but he's a light skin supremacist. Do you know who he's married to? George Bush's cousin. Clarence Thomas is married to George W. Bush's cousin. Remember what I said earlier. You got to teach them how to love theyself. This man is a master of constitutional law, but hates anything black. Went through school on affirmative action, and as soon as he got to the Supreme Court, struck down the very benefit that put him there. See, let me be clear about something. You can study black history all day. You can go to Kemet 50 times a year. You can change your name, lock your head, dashiki your whole wardrobe. But until you change the way you think, you'll never be free. And we got Negroes who think they free because I've been to the Nile Valley. I'm free because I've been to South Africa. I'm free because I've been initiated into a traditional African religion. That don't make you free. Those are behaviors. Those are labels. Those are experiences that do not necessarily indicate a change in consciousness. See, before you can have a revolution, you got to have an evolution in thinking. You don't change nobody's circumstance until you change the way they think about that circumstance. And one of your biggest problems in Seattle, after white supremacy, is white supremacy's watchdog, the black bourgeoisie. Now, I'm not from Seattle, but I know white supremacy. And I was reading on the internet today that Seattle has the 14th largest metropolitan area. That means you have the 14th strongest black bourgeoisie. And what is the black bourgeoisie? This is a cartel of educated Negroes who are handpicked by the Seattle social order to protect white supremacy from its black victims. There's 5 families of the bourgeoisie in Seattle. The first one is the higher education bourgeoisie. These are principals, superintendents, and college professors in Seattle who, whenever they're asked to intellectualize the problems of black people, they never bring up white supremacy and racism. They always end up blaming you for the condition you did not create. That's their job. They write books and give lectures, and they be on the news getting interviewed. And when people ask them, why aren't black kids in Seattle learning, they say things like, well, he needs to pull his pants up. They say things like his mother is too young. They say things like, we're not paying the teachers enough money. Or we don't have enough technology in the schools. That ain't got a damn thing to do with why black kids ain't learning. Black kids ain't learning because 93% of the teachers responsible for teaching them are white and could care less if they learn. That's why they're not learning. You can pay every teacher in Seattle $1 million a year and test scores still won't go up. Don't you let the Teachers Union of Seattle manipulate you into fighting for them to get a bigger paycheck. Some of y'all getting used by the Teachers Union. They got you in the newspapers and on the magazines talking about we want more pay for teachers.